Computex 2026 coverage is proudly sponsored by Fantex, with support from Asus ROG, NZXT, HAVN, and Cooler Master helping us bring you wall-to-wall coverage direct from Taipei. Okay, so we made it over here to HAVN at Computex 2026. You've probably already seen this, but we're going to talk about it today. This is the HS360. It's the next evolution of the HS420, which I did my personal build in. The HS360 kind of takes some opportunities to make some improvements that they learned from with the HS420 and taking consumer feedback, and they've integrated it here. So we'll go ahead and start with the back. So remember, it has the same top and bottom fans as you would find in the 420, but the 420, to mount a fan, you would put the fan in the rear and then you screwed it in from the inside, kind of sandwiching it in between the frame. So a lot of people complained about that. It just could be a little cumbersome. If you already have a cooler or something installed, things can get in the way. It's just a little harder to get to. So with this rear bracket right now, or the rear fans, you have these brackets. So they literally just kind of slot in on the bottom in these little slots right here. And then what you do is once they slot in, they screw in on the top. So the slots down here on the bottom, they are rubber isolated, and then you attach this to your fan and you just have one screw to put it in place. So this is directly due to consumer feedback, and it's a nice one to see that they've integrated. Overall, the thing has obviously shrunk down some because it's only fitting 120 millimeter fans. The layout is exactly the same as what you saw on the HS420, just in a smaller form factor. You got the same GPU support right here, which has adjustability in and out depending on the depth of your GPU. You can make sure the rubber standoff isn't hitting a fan. You can adjust this guy here up and down. So full adjustability on the GPU support bracket. But one thing you might notice here is they now support BTF. The HS420 does not support BTF, but it's a double purpose bracket. You can see with this bracket right here, we've got screws in the corner. So it doubles as a two function piece. In this orientation with the holes on the inside, this doubles as the BTF pass-through. If you unscrew those and flip it around, you can put the grommets in, and then they work as your cable pass-through. So it's the first time I've actually seen that in a case. Usually BTF has your grommets and you have your BTF, and then when you run BTF, the grommets look kind of funny because there's no cables going through there. So this is a really neat system to be able to invert that. The other thing too is it has the same rigidity you would expect. It's teetering a little bit on this table, but to have the same rigidity you would expect, even though the glass is not in there, it's a very solid frame. Other than that, it's pretty much an HS420 shrunk down to a 360. That's for the standard orientation. If you look at the VGPU version, or the vertical GPU, you'll notice it looks quite different. So we have right here a magnetic shield for air deflection. We'll talk about this guy in a second. I'm being gentle with it because it is tempered glass. This is not plastic or acrylic. But if you look right here in the bottom, you can see they've got a deflector on here that's designed to, at a proper angle, push air through this deflector, bounce it off the glass and towards the vertical GPU. Now what tends to happen is that air can often blow right past the GPU. Well, that is where this guy comes in right here. It's a very strong magnet, holy cow. This is it's a very strong magnet, okay? There we go. So you can put this in the rear case, and this has these little rubber standoffs that go on there, like this, and we'll show you on a complete system over there. This will rest on the GPU, and this makes the air stop, bypassing the fans in the front of the GPU, and actually kind of semi-seal off the GPU so the air forces its way through there. So the problem with vertical mounted GPUs and updraft or chimney style cases, a lot of the air does just bypass the GPU because fluid wants to flow in the path of least resistance. So this is a pretty neat system they came up with. The bracket's slightly redesigned too from the HS420 in that to take this off the HS420, you kind of had to do this weird tilt and like slide. I can't even do it with this because it's not designed to, but you had to like tilt and slide to remove it. But the problem is if you had a GPU pre-installed, like you do over here, you can see with the white one, the glass is right at the bottom of the GPU. So you can't actually do that tilt maneuver. So that's why they made it now, so it can literally just pull straight out. But as you can see right here, the glass deflector that's just sitting right on top of this Aorus graphics card stops this air from just bypassing it and going right out the exhaust. It forces its way through the GPU. So it's kind of a neat thing I plan on doing smoke testing with when we get our hands on this when it debuts soonish. I understand. And Computex and CES. When's it coming out? Soon, TM. So it'll be interesting to be able to actually do a smoke test on that to see, is it truly making its way through the GPU, or is it still going to just maybe come out the back right here and just bypass it still altogether? So it's something I'm excited to take a look at and test when we get our hands on that. Lastly, the other new product here is HAVN is getting into the power supply business. So they have a 1,000 watt and a 1,200 watt platinum 80 plus platinum power supply that has airflow obviously as its main feature. So you can see instead of a normal grill, you just have these like little, not really pipes, but they're almost like wires, if you will, to protect you from sticking your fingers in the fan. But obviously it's all the ATX 3.1 standard, all the same connectors and stuff that you would expect. But they basically asked me if I had a way of testing power supplies, because they said we would pit this power supply against any other power supply in the same category or the same wattage. And I said, I don't have a way of testing that, but we're going to see if we can't come up with a way. But they have a lot of faith in their new power supply that's coming out. So what do you guys think? How do you guys feel about the HS360? It's an obvious natural progression of the HS420, but in a smaller, less footprint, kind of a design. And then they took that opportunity to make some changes that you guys said you wanted to see. So sound off down below how you guys feel about the HS360. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss our Computex 2026 coverage. And as always, we'll see you in the next one.